Happy Arvo. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm a little bit nervous. These type of videos, they can get dramatic. What's the Australian view on Americans? Always a little bit controversial, you know. Not everybody's view fits everybody else's view. You can't sum up an entire people's view on an entire other people's in just some comments, but that's what makes it fun, in my opinion. It's very interesting to see even just anecdotal views from Australians on what they think about Americans in general. Especially because, I mean, it seems like most of the world generally kind of hates us. It is what it is. But there's nuance in there. And one thing I do like, it is a little bit relieving to me about Australia is not all Australians hate Americans. Whereas it can seem that way with some other countries. But anyway, I grew up with a few Aussies back in middle school in Florida, and I sort of learned a lot about Australians like y'all call Americans sippos. Oh yeah, I haven't heard that one in a little bit. But what's the general perspective on Americans? Okay, let's go. And the top comment. Fine. There you have it, folks. I told you, controversial. Fine individually. Weird collectively. Okay. Interesting. So it's like sometimes you have things where it's the sum of them is greater than the individual parts, you know what I mean? As far as Americans, the individual is greater than the sum of us. And when you put us all together, we're all screwed up and weird. But as individuals, we're fine. Okay. Exceedingly true. Oh, that's the original poster. And sometimes not fine individually. You just had to go and say that, huh? You had to go and make sure to say, not all Americans are fine. Some are dickheads. Of course, that's true. If they act like Americans collectively. Does that not just mean that you don't like the average American, but some Americans are better than average? So you like some Americans, but on average you don't like them. That's what I'm taking away from that. What does it even mean, Americans collectively? Well, I do know Americans do have some attributes, like collectively. It's kind of a difficult thing to I don't know, articulate. Collectively. Like, for instance, on the internet, there's this phenomenon where Americans seem to think that we're the only ones on the internet. So we just assume everybody else is American. That's kind of a collective thing. And so, yeah, if an individual American acts like that, I could see them being annoying. For sure. American here, full disclosure, a large portion of us feel the same way. Americans really is about as accurate as using Europeans. Can be used to describe a single homogeneous people. Okay. Yeah. Come on, man. We're not trying to speak in nuance here. They seem to think that we think about them a lot more than we do. Damn! That's kind of like this thread. Like, hey guys, what do you think about us? I know you guys are over there thinking about us. It's funny because before I started recording, I had that exact thought. I kind of thought, like, this is kind of funny. You know, it's kind of funny that I, as an American, and I'm like, let's see what everybody else thinks about me. But it is a fun subject, you know. I recognize that about it. That it has that, you know, a little bit of arrogance in it. But it's fun, you know. And whether you like it or not, and most people don't like it, America is kind of like, you know, on the world stage constantly dancing around acting like a clown. So people do have opinions on Americans and America. You know what I mean? Although your life does not revolve around America. I know you got better things to do, like go to the beach, than think about America. Well, since at least half of our news seems to be about American politics, crime, and society, I'm not sure they're wrong. See, that's the counterpoint. And that actually is true. It's crazy to me. Sometimes I do like I'll go to an Australian news website thinking, I mean, I do this on an everyday basis actually. I go to Australian news websites and stuff, see what's going on. And half the time it's like, this happened in America. This happened in America. I'm like, I don't freaking care, dude. That's not why I'm here. I asked on Ask an American or whatever the sub is if Seppo was offensive. The comment that stuck was a bloke who knew some Irish and English blokes who enjoyed a bit of banter. They said they hold back until they know if it's a dude who will grab a gun. I don't think Seppo's offensive because I don't think 99% of Americans would even know what that you're referring to them, or that's an American, like, I don't want to say slur, but you know, do know how true that is. I still hold that Seppo is not inherently meant offensively, but if I'm in America, I'll leave that word on the back burner. I mean, it actually is kind of funny. I don't think anybody would know what you even meant, genuinely. In fact, when I hear the word Seppo, I think of it as a name. I've heard the name Seppo, not in America, but like in Europe somewhere. I don't know. Some European named Seppo. I don't think of it as an insult. In fact, to be honest, I forget what it's short for. What is it short for? Oh, yeah. Rhyming. Rhyming yank with septic tank. So Seppo is short for septic tank. No shit, that's offensive. Are you kidding me? Like, do you have to ask? Hey, I'm just wondering, if we call you a septic tank, is that taken offensively? But still, no one would know what you meant. But if you told them, they'd be like... Actually, most Americans would probably think that was funny. But, I mean, it is objectively offensive. I've met a few Americans, and they seem very polite, cool people. Pity their government sucks. Every government sucks. That's my honest opinion. I agree, our government sucks. But in my opinion, every government sucks. Well, at least like 99%. Maybe some like small European countries. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm pretty sure 90% of governments suck. And if they don't suck now, they will suck. I've been to China, got treated like a rock star, wonderful, polite people. Pity their government sucks. I live in Australia and get treated like shit. This comment is confusing the hell out of me. Is this a poem? He's like, I went to America. I was treated politely. Pity their government sucks. I went to China. I was treated like a rock star. Pity their government sucks. Like, what am I reading? I live in Australia. I was sure he was going to say, pity our government sucks. I live in Australia and get treated like shit. Okay. I want to go to New Orleans for the food. And that's about it. For what? The jambalaya? Dude. I don't know. Go to the North Carolina, get some barbecue, or Texas or something, man. I mean, yeah, okay. Sure. Go get you some jambalaya in New Orleans. That's good too. Oh boy, here we go. This is the one I've been looking for. From a deleted user. He had to delete his account after making this comment. I'll be honest. I've disliked most Americans I've ever met. Generally speaking, they're loud, rude, and obnoxious. They have twisted views of the world, barely understand anything that's not American, and I hate having to always explain, oh, it's like X thing you have in the States. I'm genuinely curious how many Americans this guy has met. Are American tourists just that common in Australia that you're just meeting them like regularly? I wonder that. I genuinely wonder that. Like how many American and why would you just start talking to them? You know what I'm saying? That's what I honestly think when I read this. And I'm not saying he's necessarily wrong. Like it's like, okay, I understand. A lot of Americans are loud and obnoxious. But I'm wondering what he's basing it like. He's saying all the Americans he's ever met. How many have you met? I would love to know. I mean, obviously, if he came to America, that would be one thing, but that's not what he's necessarily implying. I have met few decent ones, though. Like anyone, if you're a nice and respectful person, there'll be no issue. Hey, I don't want any issues, man. Don't even get me started on the country itself. It all just drives me nuts. Oh, you know what? This is an interesting comment because I have said this myself, just speculating, but this guy kind of confirms it, at least anecdotally. He says, as an American who's migrated here, I'll say that a lot of Americans you'll encounter in Australia are like this. They're typically either well-off tourists or upper class people here on work visas in a corporate position. Either way, it's not a good overall representation, and I try to avoid the other Yanks here. Which, what I have said before is that, you know, as far as tourists going around Europe, going around Australia, that is, you know, most Americans are not privileged enough to be able to afford to do that. That's not cheap. Okay? That is not cheap. At least not on a regular basis. Maybe once in their life they'll get the opportunity to do that. You know, our healthcare is expensive, guys. You can't just be spending all your money going to Europe. I'm just kidding. But or Australia. Australia is even, you know, more expensive. So therefore, the people that are there touristing around Australia, they're probably a bunch of snotty rich kids. You know, I'm sure like the older people, you know, those aren't the ones that are going around obnoxious around Australia, making a fool out of themselves. It's the younger, it's the 20-year-olds that are partying in Australia. And I mean, there's a certain type of people that are able to do that. So, and I'm not even saying all rich kids are snobs, just more so than average. Oh boy, guys, here's the real kisser. Current thoughts are that half of Americans seem sane. The other half are batshit crazy and are willing to publicly display their racist and bigoted views. You know, that is something, I don't know. I know that a lot of people might think I'm crazy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But that is something that when I hear it said, I have a need deep within my heart to stand up and say, get a little bit defensive. I try not to get too defensive, but America, from everything I've gathered, and I've gathered quite a lot, you know, compared to other people, I actually do. Unlike most Americans, I actually do try to learn about the rest of the world. America, on average, is way less racist than most other countries. There's still racism, of course. Unfortunately, I don't see how there will ever not be any racism. And in some concerning ways, I have seen racism here in the States like take an uptick, which is really sad. Because for a long time of my life, it was just racism was like, man, it was almost stomped out. It was pretty incredible how quickly it was like. But now there's been like a little uptick. But with that said, other countries, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to compare to other countries and stuff, but on the whole, America is not like a racist country compared to other countries. You know, if you had to put them in order, most racist countries. I know, I know, I know. I'm sorry, I had to say it. Moving on. And what I mean by that, why this kind of bothered me, he's saying publicly display their racist views. Sorry, I just said I was moving on, but I'm not moving on. I need to say it just another word. Absolutely not true in general. Absolutely not true. Publicly displaying a racist view here in America is maybe the most taboo thing you can do. You might get the shit kicked out of you. All right, moving on. All right, guys, I really don't mean to get like defensive, and I'm not going to. At least I'll try not to. I'm kind of telling myself that. As an Australian, I think that America is much closer to a third world country than they seem to realize. A third world country. A third world country. I mean, what are some of the most obvious criticisms of America? Our healthcare, our lack of gun restrictions. How does that make us third world? I mean, in some ways, you know, you can say it's kind of third world to not have universal health care. That's agreed. But the healthcare system itself, not the system itself, the facilities, the quality of care is high. They just make you literally like go into bankruptcy to access it, which is not good at all. It's horrible. I'm really trying to think of how America. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a regular American. And he says here, I really feel bad for regular people living in the States. I'm a very, very regular person, and I don't need anybody feeling bad for me. I guess I'll just say that. Trust me, there's other people around the world who have it so much worse off than regular Americans and regular Australians, of course. That, for the most part, at least I, as a regular American, I don't need anybody feeling bad for me. It's okay. It's okay. With that said, before I get, you know, I really don't mean to get like defensive. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of cringe, because there is a lot of reasonable critiques about America. It's just when people say certain things, you know, like that America is so racist, I'm like, especially if you don't live here. I mean, you'd have to live here to know something like that, and I do live here. Anyway. That was fun. That was fun. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.